All right. All right. I will start out by saying,
Hey, Bill.
game. Hey, welcome. He's got Bill is best dressed like he's in the Barbie movie.
Did you see the Barbie movie, Bill?
Hey, Bill, did you see the Barbie movie? I haven't seen it yet.
He was really good. I saw Oppenheimer, though.
He's dressed.
Yeah. So
and no feedback problem.
So the thing that stands out to me, obviously, that both teams were a little out of sync, being game one, and they rested their starters a lot. The game played out similar to what I thought it would, except for the lack of scoring. I thought there'd be at least, one more score on each side, but I thought the Lions would prevail largely for the reasons we talked about when we talked about the game prior.
My mom says hi, everybody.
Oh, hello.
Hey, how you doing, Mrs.
Hey.
Okay.
Always great to hear you.
Always.
Mom says hi back. She's trying to stay out of the picture, though.
Yeah.
Well, Mom thought the Lions were going to win, right?
Mom, see, you should listen. You should listen to Mom.
Win, yeah. Did they win?
Yeah, they won.
Yes,
they won 21-20.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I told them they got a lot of good people in the draft, and that other guy.
See, there you go.
Right. Mom's right.
They had a really good draft. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown's really good. David Montgomery was great also.
Yeah. So,
but the game was won on the offensive line.
Definitely.
That
line
had a great game.
Oh my God.
Peninsula had a fantastic game.
Boy, and that offensive line, I love, though, where things turned for me was it was a 6-yard, it was like a 7-yard run, but it was that double pull guard and tackle. And I hadn't seen them run that the year before. And their offense, from a running standpoint, became a lot more varied, talking about the Lions. But I have to say, though, this was the Chiefs game, and the Chiefs should have won, because how many times do you see the Chiefs drop 2 consecutive passes like that? Or miss a cross-field pass that they've done in their sleep for years, just off target. They looked like they were almost snake bit. It's like, hey, we're gonna win at home. We've got this. But because of that, they were just a little bit off. All day long, they were a little bit off. And the Lions, and that was matched with a team that wanted to beat them. Mm-hmm. And here's where it talks to, and here's where I give a nod to Bill as well. Sometimes I guess the will, right? And okay, Bill, I get that. Even though every time I say that, I have to, do my head like this, because I'm always thinking about this drop or that drop or the other drop.
Sure.
There were a lot of mistakes in this game by the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, Kadarius Toney particularly was awful.
Like I said, it felt like his hands were dumped in like Crisco or butter or something like that, because it kept Hey, Donald,
Daddy in the house.
Yeah. Hey, wait. Most important, how do you feel?
I feel good.
Nice.
Good.
Excellent.
He almost said it like James Brown, but you didn't have that like.
No.
I feel good.
I feel good.
Interesting. I was listening to him earlier.
Oh, nice.
James Brown and the JBs.
There you go. Yeah, brings back the days. So, Bill, you were saying something about the offensive line. Can you recap how they were built?
Sure. So both teams have made changes, but one team was sort of patching together. The other team was stacking together. Those are two different things. Patching and stacking are two different ways of building. Most, not all, but most of the Lions' offensive linemen came via the draft, while several of the players you saw out there playing for the Chiefs came via free agency or trades. And frankly, none of them were great. I wasn't thrilled when they went with Juwan Taylor, and the other big addition was the guy literally coming off the worst, Donovan Smith coming off literally the worst year of his career. He was the most penalized starting left tackle in football last year, and did not grade out well. So some people thought just sort of the change in change in location, change in latitude, change in attitude, shout out to the late great Jimmy Buffett, would be enough to sort of rejuvenate Donovan Smith. But he showed some real problems. He was very, very, once again, penalty prone, and he got beat a lot. Mm-hmm. So I was a little surprised they didn't double dip or triple dip even offensive line. They drafted one offensive lineman, that's Wanye Morrison, the fourth out of Oklahoma. The rest of the guys you see on that offensive line rotation are, well, they brought Nick Gallegary back, who was one of their previous players. He entered free agency, but they brought him back on a one-year contract. So he re-signed. They let Orlando Brown Jr. leave via free agency. They've had some comings and goings. Mitchell Schwartz, of course, has retired, but they have some comings and goings. But the total talent level has dropped over the past couple of years along their offensive line. Even when they have gone out in free agency, they haven't gotten top-flight free agents. So these aren't guys who are Pro Bowlers. Well, I mean, if you go back in the past, Donovan Smith was a Pro Bowler, but last year he was terrible. So these are people for whom the arrow is pointed down, not up. That's the opposite of the Lions' offensive line, where they're mostly young players on the ascension. So those are two very different offensive lines. And though everyone's going to talk endlessly about the wide receivers, and yes, they were bad, particularly Kadarius Stoney was awful. Their offensive line was not as good as the Lions' offensive line, and their defensive line was not as good as the Lions' defensive line. And people love to focus on, especially in the, we now live in sort
on
of
that 4th and 2 when I thought they were going to stop them, and they just let number 5 plow through them like that.
Yeah, David Montgomery.
Yeah.
So when you don't have your best, and they have sitting on their practice squad, Danny Shelton. I thought they might. But they'd have to move some people around. I thought they might try to bring him up off the practice squad for a situation like this, because you drop 344 pounds of Danny Shelton in the middle of that line. And while he doesn't give you a lot against the pass, he is still one of the great run stuffers in the league. But he's still sitting on their practice squad. So
right.
they can't do that. But at some point, they may end up elevating him to the active roster. There's some things that will need to happen. I still believe in this. I think this was essentially what it was, one game, and they're going to get back some of the players who are missing. And at some point, even Chris Jones, but it's going to be a while on Chris Jones, but they're going to get Kelsey back probably next week. So a lot of what you saw will be almost immediately alleviated by players who are basically comfortable being second or most likely third options, going back to being second or third options, with Kelsey going back to being what he's always been, a first option. And I think they may still want to address the wide receiver position via trade at some point as well.
Though, what the Chiefs need to work on is having a set of plays that they can run even when they don't have Travis Kelce, because when they have Travis Kelce, you get the tight end around, you get the nifty screen out of the bunch formation, which really isn't a screen. I mean, he's actually in the bottom of the bunch. They throw directly to him. You get a mere number of creative plays, but then it's like you take him out. And for them, their offense goes plain vanilla. And that's what I thought, for the Chiefs, not for anybody else, but for the Chiefs. And I thought about that as I was going, because I kept thinking, okay, where is the, and they weren't there. And I'm wondering if I'd love to interview Coach Reed and ask him if moving forward, that's just not their game anymore, or they did that because they didn't have Travis. Because I think they did that because they didn't have Travis. Now, the other way to look at this is, okay, Kelsey's not playing. A lot of people thought, okay, well, that's it. I thought the reverse. I thought Travis not playing made the Chiefs more dangerous because there's a package of expectations that came with him, but you didn't know what they were going to do without him, right?
Right.
But they made it glaringly clear that without him, they didn't have that bag of tricks that gave them the yards. Now, having said that, they had a number of plays which featured delay cross-field patterns out of bunch formations that were wide open, and they were missing them.
Right.
So they were plainly they had a good game plan.
Yep.
They just weren't executing it. That was the
Yep.
classic case of, hey, look, you didn't execute, or hey, you were out there thinking about winning more than you were out there thinking about football. Thinking about football is what? Well, you got to catch the ball and run with it. Who's famous to say that? I catch the ball and I run with it. If anybody remembers Mr. Sterling Sharp's brother,
Shannon.
Shannon Sharp's brother Sterling, saying that I catch the ball and I run with it. Well, you got to catch the ball before you can run with it. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. What do you think, Vinny?
I thought that, like what Bill said and what you said, Zenny, it felt a little rough, it felt very rough around the edges. It did feel like this was the first game of the season for both teams. Yep. I thought that the Lions, especially on the line, were way better. I thought Goff looked more comfortable, especially with the line that was in front of him. I thought David Montgomery did a good job. I thought the defense of the Lions as well took advantage of the inefficiency for Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith. With they've both been false start machines this entire game. Yep. Smith was like that a lot last year. He was like Bill said, he was the most penalized guy. He was awful last season.
Yep.
And even though I did have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl this year, a lot of it was because of Kelsey and Mahomes, but also with Chris Jones. But if they really stick around with Donovan Smith and Juwan Taylor throughout the season, it's going to be very bad for them. Like, not only would I look to find a wide receiver through, trade deadline, I would look to find an offensive lineman that's available for the Chiefs, because once you go further and further into the year, when you come January or in the playoffs, you need to make sure you can protect Mahomes in the best way you possibly can so that we can open up a lane for him to throw the football. And when it came to the wide receivers and the passing game in general, I thought Mahomes looked a tad rusty because, again, first game, very situation. But he did look a bit off. Granted, the wide receivers were not great. Tony was awful this entire game. He was horrible. Like I said, just butterfingers everything. But at the same time, I also got to look at Andy Reid too. Like, what was the decision to go 4th and 25 when you have all your timeouts left? That just felt odd.
That was mind-boggling. Yeah,
you should have just gone. You should have just gone for the punt. You should have just gone for the punt there. I mean, you still have for the Lions to go even further into your own end zone. Like, it's not worth it. I know Mahomes could definitely do that, but with how bad the wide receiving core was catching the ball in the previous downs, why would you want to take that chance again? Not to mention the fact you already had your linemen keep getting penalized a lot. You would think the best option would be to just punt the football. But, hey, listen, Andy Reid's a phenomenal coach. This is no shot on his legacy as an exceptional coach. But at the same time, it was still a very mind-boggling and foolish play call, one that essentially, cost the game. And so the Chiefs need to regroup next week. It's going to be very, very big against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville, a rematch of the divisional round. Jaguars, just like the Lions, they look hungry. They look like they want to make a nice playoff run. If the Chiefs want to continue this, if they start 0-2, be careful.
I got a question for everybody, and we'll go counterclockwise after I raise the question. Mm-hmm. Does this mean that we have to consider the Lions as the class of the NFC right now?
NFC North, I would, but not NFC.
Yeah, I already have them as a class of the NFC North, as we just discussed recently.
Yeah.
Well, like I said yesterday,
you said NFC as a whole, Zenny, not NFC North. NFC North, absolutely. NFC, we got to see how the Eagles are, the Niners are, those teams.
Like I said yesterday, they're my dark horse for the NFC to get into the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not ready to put them over the Bears and the Packers yet, okay?
I am ready to put them over the Bears and the Packers right now.
I'll take that bet. Wait, I'll take that bet. I'm not fully sold yet. I'll take that bet.
Okay.
We betting catfish.
So be it.
Okay.
Catfish is tasty.
It is.
But
Yeah. It is.
back to the game. I said, I don't know why I should have said it louder. The Chiefs really lost this game in the offseason.
Well said. Yeah.
You had a chance to go after DeAndre Hopkins. I don't understand why they did not pull the trigger.
Well, Bill does though. Bill.
Well,
Bill
two things, and I mean the rent a player certainly would have helped even in this situation. What I would say would have been an even better option or an equally good option. Here's the wide receiver free agent market was actually pretty full of decent players.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen was on the market. Odell Beckham Jr. was on the market. There was a lot of good options. DeAndre is at this point in his career almost 100% just a possession receiver, and that's not always a bad thing. But they like to go after catch and run guys. Look at how their wide receiver group is assembled. They're all catch and run guys. They don't have too many catch and fall down guys, and that's what DeAndre Hopkins is at this point in his career. So he's not really their flavor. He's not their type. Odell Beckham Jr. fits closer to what they like in Kansas City. Look at what they draft. Look at what they even they brought in a guy like Kadarius Toney, who of course we obviously just talked about. But what's his whole thing? It's run. It's after the catch. He actually is terrible at tracking the ball. He almost has to be used almost like a running back because he only catches the ball consistently when he can watch it out of the quarterback's hands like a running back. Where he's most effective is pop passes or wide receiver screens, things like that, things in the flat. When he has to run and catch a ball over his shoulder, things like that, he didn't do it in college. He didn't do it in high school. It's unlikely he's going to start doing it now.
Hey, so do the Chiefs go for Mike Evans?
I mean, if they can, it all depends on one. I mean, you hear lots of things being said, but those things are rumors. Tampa Bay has not gone on the record saying they actually are willing to move him. But let's say they do. I mean, it makes sense for both parties involved. Tampa Bay is about to go through a rigorous rebuild over the next season or two. This is a player who's very, very good, headed to the Hall of Fame, but on the back nine of his career. And he is a number one, both in terms of his physical ability and his mental approach to being out there on the field. And right now, they don't have a single number one, not named Travis Kelce, right? They're only number one in terms of both physical ability and the mental approach to going out and playing.
Let me put it this way, Bill. They don't have an alpha.
Yes.
No, they really don't even have a true beta even. Like look at
who's their gamma?
Well, that's the point I'm making. Like when you look at when the Rams had their 1A 1B, right, with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, or what we have right now with the Eagles with AJ Brown and the Slim Reaper Devontae Smith. They don't have a guy as good as either of the people I just named right now. So they do need to get out here to work the phones. And not just, as Vinny pointed out, and not just that one position. They still need to add another pass rusher. Even if Chris Jones comes back, they need another pass rusher.
Oh, by the way, folks, if you're watching this and you run a pizza organization and you want us to, promote your pizza, we'll eat it on the air. Sure, just contact me.
Hey,
Yes.
Contact me, guys. There's a lot of great pizzerias in Long Island. Please, someone.
I'm always looking for an excuse to eat pizza on or off air. So yes, sign me up for anything that involves eating pizza.
It's a little different when you're in Long Island. You get some real quality pizza. Not into this Pizza Hut. That's not real pizza. Here, you're going to find real pizza here.
You get deep dish?
It's not Chicago.
Not Chicago. Okay.
New York style.
So anyway, okay. So back to what Bill was saying, and Donald. Donald, do you think the Raiders should be comforted now? They think, we've got them.
No, with all the problems we have, I don't see us getting comfortable for any reason whatsoever. I'm not sold on our secondary. The Chiefs could use the Raiders like a tune-up game. I'm a big Raider fan, but it seems like when the Chiefs meet the Raiders, they start clicking on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I would not suggest they get comfortable. I would suggest, if anything, they get aggressive. You see the Chiefs bleeding, go for the kill.
Yeah.
But every team's going to do that anyway because they're the Super Bowl champs.
Okay. Okay.
Sir Chai 87
You
gave
guys
us
keep
$2.
talking. I've got to run a quick errand. I got to take the garbage up.
Don't worry, we'll be right here, man the ship for you. Also, shout out to Sir Chai 87 for giving a $2 donation. Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, wait, the TV is off. Yeah.
The donation.
Thank you very much for that.
I'll be right back. Yeah.
So Donald, we were just talking about disgruntled players whose contracts may make sense
Last
to
time
move.
that happened, this was on. I mean, it's
And
on.
Chandler Jones is a player, once again, back half of his career, fair amount of money still owed to him. Now, obviously, you would not want to make a deal within your. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Chandler Jones ends up. He's not happy, as has been mentioned, and he clearly would like to play for a contender. I'd like to see exactly how that plays out as well. He is a talented, but what's the word I'm looking for? Somewhat interesting person to handle, and the Raiders may or may not be the team that makes it work with him. He is he and Josh McDaniels don't seem to be getting along well. Josh McDaniels is a person that is known to not hold his tongue, as anyone who knows him. I mean, they ran across each other before. They were both in New England together. Obviously, he didn't have as much contact with him because at that point, McDaniels was, an offensive coordinator and not really dealing that much with the whole team. But clearly, they have rubbed each other's rhubarb raw, whatever the term you want to use is. And once again, the Chiefs would love Chandler Jones, but obviously the Raiders would never send Chandler Jones within the division, let alone to their primary rival. But Donald will ask you, if indeed the Raiders decide to move on from Chandler Jones, where do you think they might feel comfortable sitting?
Somewhere in the NFC, somewhere like, who do I see needing? I could see the Packers.
Oh.
I could see just about every team in that division. Minnesota, the Bears, especially the Bears.
Oh, and the Bears have cap room. Yeah, okay.
Bears are possible.
And Detroit.
Okay, I have to look at the cap situation for Detroit, but he's owed over $16 million, and I believe the guaranteed amount of his salary is
12.5, right?
12, yeah, I think that's about right. So I think about 2/3 or a little over 2/3 of his salary is guaranteed, and then he's got some deferred bonus money. I think a couple of $1 million in deferred bonus still left that has to be paid out. But I think by 2025, almost all the guaranteed money is gone. So a team could look at him as a rent-a-player, and he still has something left in the tank. And when motivated and wanting to play at his best, he's a double-digit sack guy. So I'm agreeing that there's still a market there for him, and you could probably get back a conditional.
Can somebody address Sir Chai? He's got a statement up there you want to respond to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Vinny had addressed them already.
Contribution.
I addressed them already.
Yeah, the contribution. Was there a question that went with it?
Question to who?
I was saying, was there also a question? When he said, we already mentioned him a couple times. I didn't know if was there also a question? Like, was he also asking something, or was it just
No, he was just making a statement.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Hey, so Chai, thanks a lot for the contribution. And looks like you said that Chiefs are losers. Raiders will beat the Broncos. So basically, you caught out the entire AFC West, almost the entire AFC West future. What do you guys think about what he just put out there, folks?
This is what I think. If the Raiders, by somehow make it past the Broncos, they'll open up week 1 as the division leaders, and they'll be division leaders for a good solid week. And then it's back to normal. everything goes back to normal. I just don't see the Raiders winning 2 road games in a row. So, yeah. And then I'm not sold on Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel about Jimmy Garoppolo the same way I felt about Derek Carr. I feel about Jimmy Garoppolo. I have to see something before I get on the bandwagon. As far as the skill players goes, yeah, we're all right. You know, I don't know how long Devontae Adams can keep up his pace, so I'll be curious. I am really, really, really intrigued to see how the matchup will go between him and Patrick Surtain this weekend because I don't think he's going to dominate the young buck like he did last year. I see major improvement come out of Junior this year. As far as our and then our interior D line, I hate to sound so pessimistic, but our interior D line is just garbage. It is garbage. And now with Malcolm Kuntz getting the start this week over Chandler Jones, and then you got Max Crosby in his position. Kuntz used to come in and relieve Crosby. So right. Who are we going to have now to relieve both of them guys? I don't see it. All I see is problems. And our rookie, the rookie that we drafted at DN, I'm getting. Oh, I forgot his name already.
Tyree Wilson from Texas.
No, not Tyree Wilson. I'm not thinking of Tyree Wilson. I'm thinking of the guy that we drafted 5 years ago.
Oh,
number 4 pick.
Oh, well, Cleveland Farrell's off the team.
Yeah, Cleveland Farrell. I get the same vibes about Tyree Wilson that I had about Cleveland Farrell.
Let me give you some good news. He's better than Cleveland Farrell. He's more athletic. He's got way more upside. Cleveland Farrell was a player who never should have been drafted anywhere in the first round, let alone as early as 4. Tyree Wilson is raw. Tyree Wilson doesn't have a great array of moves yet, but he is percentages like 40% more talented than Cleveland Farrell. So I'm going to calm your fears a little bit. He may not do a tremendous amount this year just because he's so raw, but trust me, he'll be good.
Maybe if he gets 4 sacks, I'll be happy.
Okay, well then you should be happy. He'll get you at least 4 sacks.
You should be in good hands. Don't worry. Yeah, and going with Cleveland Farrell, even during the draft day, I remember that very vividly. Like, that was someone who most people thought would at best be like in the back end of the first round, not someone that you would take number 4 overall.
I had a mid-3rd round grade on it.
I wanted the kid out of Kentucky.
But you want my boy Bud Alvin Bud Dupree? Oh, you want Josh Allen?
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Yeah,
Jaguars Josh Allen.
Yeah, right. The good Josh Allen, yes.
The good
Calm
Josh
down,
Allen.
Bills fans. It's a joke.
You don't think Josh Allen is good?
Oh, I was messing around. It was a joke. I think he's a tad overrated, but yeah, I think he's good.
All right. I'd agree. I'd agree that.
Well, I should mention this too, Donald. Like, you know, like I said, week 1, a lot of things happened week 1. One thing I always remember for week 1 was in 2021, I believe it was 2021, 2020, 2021 of those two. The Jaguars won the first game of the season and proceeded to lose every other game the rest of the way.
Wow.
1-15. That was the final 16-game season for the Jags as it was 2020. Also, another example, the Carolina Panthers in 2001. They won their first game of the season and proceed to lose their next 15. And, you know, just in general, just because a team goes well in week 1 or bad in week 1 doesn't mean they're going to be that way the rest of the season. It's just how it works.
Right.
We could see a team play like gangbusters in week 1 and be god awful the rest of the year. Like, I do think, though, that the Lions and the Chiefs are going to be playoff teams when all is said and done. I still think that the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West. No disrespect to, like, the Raiders, like you were saying before, Donald, I'm just not really sold on the Raiders. I know that, Zennie isn't one, I get it, but I'm not sold on the Raiders. I question, Josh McDaniels as a head coach. I also question how much Chandler Jones wants to be there. So in total,
no question there. No, he's made it clear he doesn't want to be there. It's not.
Yeah, he doesn't.
There's no question. There's no question.
I feel like the Chiefs will win the division. I think the Chargers will be around 500, maybe a tad above, maybe a tad below. Broncos, I think, will be a bit better. We need to see how good Russell Wilson is because he was awful last year. Hopefully their defense is still pretty good. And for the Raiders, they're bringing up the rear because just they inspire the least amount of confidence with me compared to everyone else in that division. Well, you, Bill, you high on Denver or Chargers?
Well, I mean, I like the Chargers team. I'm not sold on their coaching, as I already talked about. We talked about this, before on the last show we did. Denver is very much a solve for X because obviously they just made a big change at the top. But I think they'll be significantly better this year than they were last. And the Raiders are close to having to rebuild, partially because of the poor drafting of the past, which I don't want to spend a lot of time rehashing. But they have pieces you can build around. Max Crosby, if they can find a piece to go with him, and maybe they have, like Tyree Wilson will eventually develop into that, I think. But in Max Crosby, you have, one of those players you build around. I like Nate Hobbs. I think that he'd be better served being your number 2 as opposed to your number 1 at the corner spot. I like Jacorian Bennett. I think he may eventually be your nickel, but right now he's playing at left corner. I like him a great deal. Tyree Wilson's super raw, like I mentioned, but I think he eventually becomes something. And then on offense, well, you do have a terrific running back, but he's probably, and we'll see how long he can sort of. He's not the biggest cat in the world, and he runs hard and he takes a lot of hits. So we see how long he holds together. Colton Miller is a guy who on a better team would be a swing tackle, but he's a starter. He's not terrible, though. Dylan Parham is solid but unspectacular. I'm not sold on either Andre James or Jordan Meredith at center, so that's a question mark for me. I don't like Greg Van Roten. I'm worried about him. I'm not a big fan of Jermaine Illuminor or Thayer Mumford Jr. So there's a lot of work to be done on that offensive line, in my opinion. Austin Hooper is a slightly above average tight end. Jimmy Garoppolo is a solve for X, but what we can count on is him missing probably at least 3 games. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the team. Brian Hoyer is, captain clipboard. What we saw out of Aiden O'Connell is when he knows exactly what the defense is doing, he has a strong and accurate arm. Now, he hasn't played against teams that have game planned yet in the NFL. So if he does end up seeing the field at some point, it'll be interesting to see how he handles it. But I do like what I've seen out of him so far. I liked what I saw out of him when he was in college at Purdue. So there are some pieces there, but there's a lot of work to be done. And that's the thing about drafting poorly. When you draft poorly, and I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it, for the last few years, the Raiders have not drafted well. This is how you paint yourself into this particular corner. And even if I was 100% sold on the coaching, when you draft poorly, I mean, that's the difference between this team and a lot of the teams we talked about. The Chargers have drafted well. The Chiefs have drafted incredibly. And that's what gives me hope is, that they are going to fix some of the things we saw tonight with not just, the coaching staff, but also some of those players are going to be switched in and switched out. Brett Veach is a very smart and very aggressive general manager. I won't be surprised at all if he doesn't make 2 or 3 moves.
Now, my AFC dark horse, I can't believe I'm saying this, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I expect them to take off this year.
Me too, actually. I think the Steelers will be really, really good. I think even if they don't win the division, I think they'll be a very competitive wild card team. I love Mike Tomlin. I love what they're doing to help out Kenny Pickett. I always love their I think their defense has gotten better. So yeah, I definitely think the Steelers will be an improved team.
Steelers division champs.
Champs of the AFC North?
Yes, sir.
I could definitely see that. It was either them or the Bengals for me. But I can definitely see the Steelers winning that division. It would not shock me at all. I mean, as long as you have Mike Tomlin as your head coach, you're going to go above 500 at the very least.
Yeah, that's a game.
As Charles Barkley would say, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
I'm trying to move some things around in my schedule so I can see the Steelers and Cincinnati play this year.
Hey, thank you, Sir Chai.
Because I think that's going to be a very competitive game, worth paying for. I'm definitely going to see because I'll be on that side of the country this year. I'm going to go see the Jets in Miami play because I've never, ever, ever, ever seen.
You never seen the Jets play?
No, I've seen the Jets play before. I was there at the hot dog game. I was right. Yeah, I was there. I was right behind him. As he's.
Hey, you want to elaborate on that, Donald? For those
wow.
who don't know what the hot dog game is.
Oh boy.
So the quarterback was Mark Sanchez, and I want to say it was the second quarter of the game against the Raiders in Oakland. And
Yes.
on TV, they only show him chomping down on one hot dog, but he literally had 3 hot dogs and a soda.
Wow.
And he went out there and smashed my team. I was disgusted. That was probably like the second worst feeling in my life when it comes to the Raiders.
Oh my God. I didn't know he had that many hot dogs.
Oh,
Yeah, he had 3 hot dogs.
Wow. Shout out.
I remember because like
Youth
at the
and
Raider
mentality.
games, especially
I was
in
at the game. In fact, I think that was the game where I met Adam Sandler because we were in the box and he was the next box.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Mark Twain,
In fact, that's
comedy award recipient. I think he won the award of comedy.
I don't know. I think he did.
Yeah, he just won it.
Yeah. But has anyone else seen the Jets play in person? I have.
Oh, me too. I'm
no,
from
but
here.
I haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play in person.
I went to Cal, so I graduating. Aaron was at my first NFL draft. In fact, Bill's too, right, Bill?
Yes.
It wasn't your first NFL draft, but you were there.
Right, it wasn't my first, but it was the one where you and I met. But yeah, I was very much there, and got to talk to him a little bit, and I could tell that there was a distinct difference between talking to him and say Brady Quinn the next year, right? Who had somewhat similar draft day experiences, but one guy, even though, because you're seeing 2 young men who've gone through a tough day, right? I mean, tough, and they still walk away with millions of dollars and a chance to play quarterback in the NFL. So, it's not a tragedy, but the way they handled it was so different because Aaron Charles Rodgers had like this real, like steely look in his eye. And like there's a little bit of like a little half smirk when he was talking to us. And then Brady Quinn looked like his girlfriend had taken his like 68 Camaro and
He was not a happy
off, right, run off with his dog, and they all like ran over a cliff or something. Like he looked beaten by life in that moment. And even his hair, he had a lot of product in his hair, but it all like drooped at that point. Like his hair gave up also.
Yeah.
So I remember very distinctly noticing the difference between how those 2 young men handled that slide, as they call it. I think 1 to 25 and 1 to 24. I think they were 1 pick apart from each other. But
I got something for you, Bill. Hold that thought, because I just you reminded me of a memory. I got to get this on the camera. And yeah, okay, yeah. Well, hold on a second. I'm gonna get this on camera. Hold on a second. Because this was actually 2007 NFL draft.
Oh, that's a classic one.
Yeah. And okay, so I've got that. Now I got to go back home to where I was. And poor Bill looked like he was crying. It is a fun Bill Chackis I'm talking about. This actually is a funny moment, folks. It may not seem off, or it may seem off, a little bit, but really it's not. It's called Brady Quinn in the Onion article. And I play this because there's our old friend Bill Chackis, but I play this because it encapsulates Brady's mood at the time. All right. And let me just roll this back right here, and I'll turn this up. And here's Brady Quinn in the Onion article. Now, remember what you just heard Bill Carroll say. Okay, keep that in mind. All right, here we go. 2007.
I'm going to be a bust.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to be the one to ask Brady Quinn the Onion story, okay? Me? Well, because I have the camera.
Well, why don't you bring this with you?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
And see if you can see it. See if he will. Confirm the quote. Brady Quinn says, "I'm going to be a bust." Now, does he mean a bust in the draft? Does that mean he's going to be so famous that one day they'll make a bust of him?
Question for him.
Thinking deep here, I see.
It sounds good.
We'll see what happens.
Was it with a 9 or something like that? Yeah, really well. They had it up on the front page of Yahoo. Blew up. Maria Sandstone. Yeah, I think she's in like a box or something. She did it too. She always stands on a box. Oh, that's really good.
Hey, Brady, you seen the Onion?
I need to stand
You see the Onion?
I have seen the Onion.
You tell them what they think. Tell them what to go to hell or something like that. You've seen that? That's wild, isn't it? Yeah, it just came out.
He wasn't
laughing.
laughing. Well, there you go.
Well, I mean, prophecy can come from any place. Shout out to the Onion.
Yeah.
Also, I will say this, Brady, he's had a really, really good. He's had a really, really good.
That wasn't the only thing we had of him, by the way. Just to complete it, we did.
I think he holds the combine record for bench reps by a quarterback, though. He's got that.
And then this is at the combine 3 years ago. I interviewed him, so we're fair to Brady, just for the record.
Did you bring back the Onion article?
No, I didn't.
Oh man, that was a great chance to be like, "Hey, they got it right."
No, I talked to him about joining Zennie62 meeting. He was actually interested. So look, hey, we get funding out there, folks. We can get anybody from the NFL to come on and be a part of our company.
I would love to have Brady Quinn come in and get
that
as
was a
interview.
major push for us.
Me too.
It's massively,
I owe Brady Quinn some apologies.
Well, you can post them on the air. But my point, but my point was that coming back to we started all this with the hot dog thing and Sanchez and went off from there and but now we're back to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. And why do I have this feeling that the Jets are going to be in the Super Bowl?
Oh, I don't have that feeling.
Yeah.
If you listen to New York radio for 5 seconds, you would get that impression immediately based on how much they're hyping up this season. Now, this is coming from experience. Listen, I'm so used to hearing WFAN, Mike and the Mad Dog, Evan Roberts, Joe Beningo, a lot of these. I know these cats pretty well. You'd think that the Jets.
Whoa, stop! You know these guys? Can you get them on this program?
I do not know them personally. I grew up listening to them on the radio.
Get asked. The worst they could say is no, right? I'll ask. That'd be fun to have Mad Dog on when we talk about the A's.
Oh yeah, that'd be something.
Yeah.
I would say that growing up, especially knowing how much they've been hyping up the Jets so much this year. My dad is so angry because they're talking all about the Jets and nothing about the Giants. And so you'd think that the Jets, there's so much hype surrounding them this season. I say for the Jets' sake, I hope they go to the Super Bowl. But right now, considering the Jets, I'm proceeding with caution because it's the Jets. I got to emphasize it's the Jets. Got to proceed with caution here. I have them making the playoffs as the 5 seed. I see them potentially winning their first playoff game, but I'm not sure about going to the Super Bowl. It'd be cool if they were. I would love to see that. But, right now, holding expectations a little bit subdued as of this point.
I don't even think they're going to sniff the playoffs.
Ooh.
I believe in their defense, but I do not believe. Wow. I don't believe in that offensive line.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton. That's a big reason why I'm also kind of skeptical. Mekhi Becton.
I don't believe in their running backs.
Which means you don't think they're going to run the right scheme, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what he means, yeah.
Wow.
I just want to go to the game just to see Aaron Rodgers throw a ball. That's it. other than that, yeah, I don't expect them to. Honestly, I actually expect the Patriots to finish ahead of them in the division.
Oh,
That's possible. I mean, you have Bill
Yeah.
Belichick there. Matthew Judon is an amazing pass rusher. I mean,
Which means I expect the Jets to come in last in that division because I got it. The Bills, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jets.
I'm used to seeing that over here.
Those Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. By the way, okay, cool.
The reason why I'm so used to that is because, like, growing up, the Jets are usually at the bottom of those standings. They would constantly have games against teams like the Browns and the Jaguars because they would often be in last place. So it's a very familiar territory. You got to go back to when I was in elementary school when they were like a real playoff threat. They must have been most of my existence.
See, I remember I go back to when I first became aware of the NFL on Broadway Joe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But that was Super Bowl III.
Yeah.
So I knew the NFL was around then, but I didn't become aware of the NFL until the sister walked in our house, and that's when things changed.
I knew about the Jets because they were competitive in the Chad Pennington years, and of course in the back-to-back AFC Championship losses with Mark Sanchez. And you had Geno Smith for a couple of years. The Todd Bowles era, still no playoffs, and here still no playoffs for the Jets. Like, hey, whatever happens, I'd see. But this feels a lot like 2008, where you trade to get an old Green Bay quarterback, and you hope to make the playoffs, but then he gets hurt and they miss the playoffs because it looks like the Jets were going to go into the playoffs that year, but then Favre got hurt and lost their next 5 games. I still have Favre's jersey up in my attic when he was with the Jets, and then he proceeded to play his next 2 years with the Vikings.
So those people who, just as trivia, watching Zennie62 don't think that we don't have Geno Smith here. We do. This is one of several interviews I did with Geno right here.
I love Geno Smith.
Chelsea Piers. You know where that is, right?
Of course
I do. I got to talk to Geno a little bit at the time.
Geno Smith, air raid.
Is it difficult? Do you have to prepare yourself for tomorrow, knowing that based on everything we've seen?
I hope he's going to be good this year.
I think he will.
Not really. I mean, it's my mom's birthday. That's the biggest thing for me. Like I always say, I'm a selfless guy, so I'm really there to enjoy the birthday with her.
It's a little windy.
Once I get drafted, then we'll share.
Yeah, putting it mildly there. Yeah.
Happy go lucky. Happy to be here.
Did you get her a gift of any sort, or is this the gift?
Oh yeah, I got a plenty of gifts.
What are some positives you're hearing back from what you heard back from NFL teams?
I mean, it's all been positive. Even from Trent Dilfer's a guy who I've worked with, Coach Mooch, John Gruden. All those guys have positive things to say. Obviously, at this point in my career, there's a lot of work to be done as far as development. But I mean, that's for everyone. So. But with what I've done in college, which is pretty much put behind me, teams really like it and think I can excel at the next level.
As a high school senior, did Chip Kelly offer you?
Yes.
Yeah, and how deep did you go in discussions with Oregon?
Well, he visited my high school like 2 or 3 times, but I mean, Eugene, Oregon is miles away from.
That's what E.J. Manuel said.
So I just didn't want to go that far.
Hey, Mr. Smith, how would you say the air raid has prepared you for the National Football League?
Well, the different passing concepts, different route combinations, allowing me to have freedom to change plays at the line of scrimmage and call plays, dealing with the run game as well as the pass game. So overall, just giving me complete control of the offense as well as throwing a number of route combinations versus various defenses.
Do you know where you rank in terms of total yardage of any of the NFL draft quarterbacks over the past year over Cam Newton?
Cam Newton won.
Yeah. You're over Andrew Luck by just a little bit in terms of career yardage. In fact, you're number 1. Has anyone told you that?
No.
Yeah, you're number
His
1.
agent sucked.
Just keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy he's finally found a home with the Seahawks.
Should have been his agent, man.
Hey, you do a better job.
Hey,
honestly.
go take the test then.
Yeah, just Just seeing
Why do
Gino, I know he was great last year, but still, it's just awesome to see that Gino has finally found a home with the Seahawks because it didn't really feel like, with the Jets, he's had still have Mark Sanchez there and kind of felt like he was taking advantage of it. And of course, Ican and Pauly. Then he's a backup for the Giants. He gets thrown into that whole Bob McAdoo situation. Backup for the Chargers, didn't really play at all. Seahawks finally gets his chance, and he was incredible last year.
He took off with it.
I mean, he's already been established as the best quarterback from that draft class. I understand that's not saying much because that was a draft class that had the likes of Mike Glennon and EJ Manuel, but still, he was phenomenal last season.
Don't forget Christian Ponder.
Hey, keep in mind, Blake Bortles was the darling of that draft. Remember?
No, he was 2014, not 2013.
Oh, that's right. No, right.
There's two quarterbacks left from that draft.
Yeah,
class.
you're right.
Yeah, 2014, 2013 had EJ Manuel was the one and only quarterback in that draft class. Mike Glennon was taken later on. Geno Smith was like an early day 2 pick.
Yep.
But Gino's already established himself as hands down, obviously the best quarterback because he's the only one of them that's made the Pro Bowl, and he's the only one of them that's hosted a playoff game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's right. He's the only one that started a playoff game.
No, he's not.
Wait.
The 2013 draft?
Yep. Oh, here's a trivia question right here.
Yeah.
He is not the only one to start a playoff game from that draft class.
As a quarterback?
As a quarterback.
Yeah, 2014 NFL draft that had
Derek Carr. It had
right.
Johnny Manziel. It had Teddy Bridgewater in 2014. 2013.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater, 2014. I'm looking at 2014 right now. And
we're missing one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a screwy page. I hate this when they wound up ranking the wrong pages.
I know you had Landry Jones in 2013 also, if I'm not
wait a
mistaken.
minute. He didn't start. He just played in the game.
He played it. He didn't start. I think I know you're talking about, Donald, but yeah, he came in.
Gil Brandt, rest in peace. Gil Brandt thought that Blake Bortles should have been number 1 to the Texans.
Yeah, there was a potential.
What about Josh Johnson? He's still in the league.
He's very much still in the league. Yeah.
You gotta respect the hustle, man. You gotta respect the hustle. Like, how many teams has this guy been on?
Something like 13 or something like that. 14.
I saw him right here
in 4 different leagues. I think the
14 different NFL teams, and he's been in 3 other
UFL.
leagues.
He's been in the XFL. He's been in the AAF.
He's going around.
Hey, Johnny Manziel was 22nd pick in that draft behind Bortles.
2014, 2013, 2014. Like, did you see the Johnny Manziel documentary?
Oh, yeah. Now, I knew some of that stuff already, but yes. So
I've been trying to get Josh Johnson to do an interview with me forever. This kid used to spend the night at my house.
Really?
Yeah, my nephew and Josh Johnson played for the San Diego.
Toreros. USC,
Toreros together.
I watched him when he was playing for them. Non-scholarship, right? It's FCS, but non-scholarship.
And that's when I first really started to get to know Jim Harbaugh as a coach and his ways with the players.
Yep.
And why so many of his previous players respect him and why so many previous players hate him.
Correct.
So, Bill, you were trying to say about stuff with Johnny Manziel that you already knew about?
I heard a lot of that stuff already. Even back to high school, he was known for a guy that didn't have great work habits, partied very, very hard. By his second year at Texas A&M, he had, maybe not a heavy substance use issue, but he tried some stuff that was known to people that knew. There was a guy that he wasn't related, but they called him Uncle Nate, who was his, guy, his dude that got things for him, handled things for him. And yeah, I mean, in this case, I'm not talking about drugs, but other stuff that Johnny wanted and would handle things for him, handle situations for him, that kind of thing. And so a friend of mine who is fairly well known in the recruitment world, knew Uncle Nate pretty well. And so he was my back channel. And I heard lots of stuff about what Johnny was up to. There was a reason why they weren't all broken up when this quote unquote generational talent left Texas A&M. You didn't hear Kevin Sumlin begging him to stay, right? Remember?
He did.
He was fine with him leaving as a redshirt sophomore. That tells you everything you want to know, right? When the staff is not at all broken up to see a guy go who's as talented as Jonathan Paul Mansell was.
But I also remember Johnny wasn't cool on Kevin Sumlin either. I thought that was sad, you know.
Well, they didn't.
Going on
Yeah,
there.
I mean, there's a lot to that situation. Like,
by the way, speaking of that draft, folks, and I present to you on Zennie62 Media another interview. This is a short one. Blake Bortles. Well, I got two with him. This is the 2 minute and 45-second one. NFL draft plays Big 60. There we go.
He's done just about everything, so he's a great resource to have.
What's his advice throughout this whole process?
He's been kind of, just make sure you stay yourself, stay true to yourself, and keep working hard. He obviously had success early on in his NFL career, winning the Super Bowl, I think his second year. It was due to him working hard and getting after it, and being determined.
Is Roethlisberger the guy you patterned your game after growing up?
No, he's always been a guy that I enjoyed watching. I grew up a huge Packers fan, so Brett Favre was my hero. So if I had to, I don't know what my game looks like at all, but that was a guy I tried to do when I was a kid running around the yard. So now I think Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, and I think Andrew Luck, two guys that I tried to do.
Hey, Blake, I had to ask you. In watching the film on you, I'm really impressed with the system. When you all practice, do you drill in terms of a time step or hitch step? Because you get the ball off in a little window.
Yeah.
It's really the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, everything's timing. We obviously have our route tree, and every route has a drop. And, it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of work in the summer. Because, if the receiver's yard short on the route or a yard long, it throws everything off. So they have to be precise. I have to be precise and consistent with the speed of my drop. It's definitely a very detail-oriented system. It really works well for us.
Have teams asked you about adopting elements of that system to what they do? Because there are a lot of NFL teams that, be honest, are coached behind the college game.
Yeah. Every time you meet with teams, they talk about your offense and what you run. And, I tell them. And obviously there's a little bit of our offense in NFL teams' offenses. And there's obviously some NFL teams that, we run the same offense as they do. So it's pretty cool to go do that and hear what they do and what we do and compare them.
And shifting gears, are you tired of people asking you about your girlfriend?
Yeah. I don't really care.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
We're hot, bro.
Blake, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Watch this.
How does it feel possibly being the first quarterback taken in the draft?
I really can't wait. I'm more anxious to find out where Marquise Lee is going to go and see where he's going to be playing next year.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's a little fun fact. Actually, my uncle used to work with his father, Rob, for a while. So yeah, so it's something my uncle used to work for Blake Bortles' father.
So take note.
Here's why I stopped buying fish from the grocery store and started buying from Wild Alaskan Company.
Commercial. Take note, Vinny, when you're interviewing, always make sure to point the camera at the person's face.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, that little thing, that's for everybody. That little thing, a lot of people miss. And because sometimes, you can talk to somebody and the camera will be pointing like, oh, I'll hold this way or whatever. But make sure the camera is at your eye and it's pointing right at it. Same for you, Bill. Although Bill did a lot of great wide shots at the combine. But yeah, and Donald too. Since now we've got, of all of us, you realize that three of the four of us are on the NFL website.
Yeah, I got it situated. Donald, do you have it?
Now, Donald didn't want to be. Donald, what we're talking about is we're all now in the NFL press pool under Zennie62 Media. Mm-hmm. So I got Bill in for the combine. Bill took Bill Chakis' place. So you remember in the NFL? Remember the onion thing?
Yeah.
Bill was. He wasn't with us then, but he was with us by 2014. Although we were always doing stuff together, but Bill Carroll took Bill Chakis' spot.
What, me?
And say again?
What about me? What spot do I take?
You got a new spot. They were, hey, that's what happens when you're in like Flint. You've been there a while, and
Consistent.
and that's Zennie62 Media has a 19-year NFL draft history.
Wow.
19 years. 19 years. Consistency pays, right? Relationships pay. So
Definitely.
there you go.
I should say one other thing too. Speaking of relationships and whatnot, this Thursday, and I'm going to do a vlog about this a few times. I'm going to be driving to New Jersey to meet up with Phil Simms and Gary Myers. I want to just ask a few things, just get him to know who I am. I spoke with him a bit on Twitter. He's very excited to see me. Now, Gary is someone that's written for the for the books. So Gary's someone that's written for the New York Daily News for many years. He's also voted for the Hall of Fame. I'm
acquainted with him from early parts of the draft. Used to talk to him quite a bit.
Yes, I'm very excited to speak to Gary, and there's a lot of connections there. So this Ira Kaufman and Peter King, when I saw them there, they were excited and very happy to see me. I can't wait to do the same thing for Gary.
Ta-da! Great, awesome, man. Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks.
We got to get him business cards.
Hey, just Vin Laspanuso, my Twitter account right here. Just follow me at Vin Laspanuso91. Found 2 letters, just 2 numbers. just goes along with it.
Just make us look good, kid.
Oh, I'll always make you guys look good. Don't worry.
All right. I don't know how to take that.
I'm gonna represent Zennie62 loud and very, very proud. Next Thursday in New Jersey.
You think you look better than me?
Hey, you look great. Don't worry.
That's my best imitation of a New Jersey talk, as I think it might go down. But
you need to see more of The Sopranos to get a better inclination of how they're gonna. But for me, I'm a Long Island kid, so we us in New Jersey kind of a bit of a fight, but they're connected, but they're also kind of at odds.
Speaking of that area, there was a quarterback that came from not too far away from there that Bill Chakas was really high on, and his name happened to be none other than the man who wound up being the Ravens quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Joseph Vincent Flacco.
Yeah, remember him, Bill Cow?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's been a bunch of Long Island quarterbacks. I mean,
Boomer Esiason,
Neil O'Donnell, Stan Gelba, Frank Wright,
Anthony Carrillo.
Yeah, there you go, the Carrillo cannon.
Where's
Ralph Friedgen.
Anthony will give you a shout out.
Yes, Ralph Friedgen, in his days at Maryland when he was working for George O'Leary, and George O'Leary, everywhere he's been, has always gone after Long Island quarterbacks.
O'Donnell is from New Jersey. Reich was from Freeport, which is in Nassau.
Nassau, okay, yep.
Nassau County.
Suffolk
County. It's all in the details.
Oh, yeah, on Twitter, before we
the Tice brothers, right? Eric and Mike Tice are from that way.
Yes.
Eduardo says Raider Nation for life. Eduardo, thank you so much. There you go, Donald. There you go, everybody. Hey, Raider Nation for life. That's
the
right.
Tice brothers are in the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. I know.
Yeah. Okay, so Eric Bieniemy on Twitter is a trend because officially beats. He had nothing to do with the Chiefs' offense allegations. That's right. Now we blame Matt Nagy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Ooh.
Right.
And hey, that's interesting. So if the Commanders win, is Eric Bieniemy officially saved?
I think when it comes to Bieniemy, this is a man that should have gotten a head coaching job years ago. Plain and simple. I almost kind of want him to get a job just because I'm tired of people wanting him to get it, but he really does deserve it. And with the Commanders, I think they're gonna be around third or fourth in division. But I think their improvement on coaching, especially on offense, he's gonna really help Sam Howell develop. I'm very excited to see how the Commanders do with Bieniemy, and if Howell looks like a legit starter. If the Commanders make the playoffs, Bieniemy, I think, might finally get his coaching job. Now, I'm saying that, but who really knows at this point? Because, oh, geez, just make his years of suffering and just give him a head coaching job already.
I'm going to go here, and I know this is not proper etiquette in the media, but when it comes to Eric Bieniemy, I believe that God is right on time.
Yeah, God is. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
he is never late, and I think when it's when it's really right, when it's in God's favor for Eric Bieniemy to get a job, he's going to get it, and he's going to do well.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't want him to coach a team that has like poor dysfunctional organization, because like I almost kind of worry for like Todd Bowles in a sense for the Buccaneers, because because I feel like he's a lame duck right now, and I
think he's going to do well. I don't know why. I think he's going to do well this year.
I hope he does. I'm rooting for him. I mean, he did a decent job, especially in his first year with the Jets. Like they went 10-6, and there was a 7 seed back then, they would have made it. They lost in the last week of the season, and who knows if the Jets made the playoffs that year, they could have won a playoff game. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Brandon Marshall have actually played in a playoff game if they would have won that last game of the season. But for Bowles, he had an amazing defense that won a Super Bowl for the Buccaneers. Who was Byron Leftwich? Where is he right now?
Canada.
Yes.
Really?
He's in Canada. Hey, let's wrap up, folks. Any parting cheers? We've been on for 1 hour and 6 minutes and 31 seconds. So.
Okay, I want to get in real quick what I wanted to get in last night. A bold prediction, not for this season, not for next season. There are 2 African-American coaches that I believe will have a chance to coach the Cowboys. Deion Sanders and Eric Bieniemy.
Do you think Jerry Jones will finally pull the trigger and hire a black coach?
Watch.
I believe it when I love Jerry, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, same here. Like, I would say Deion's more likely to stay in the college game, at least for now. As for, Bieniemy, I would say the Cowboys' coaching future really rests on how the Cowboys do this season. Now, if you saw my record prediction, I saw them being second in the NFC East and having the second of the 3 wild card spots and narrowly losing to the Seattle Seahawks in the wild card round. I think if they don't go to the NFC Championship game this year, this is my personal opinion, if they do not go there this year, McCarthy is out in Dallas. Like, the Cowboys been very competitive the last few years, but they've been known for losing in the playoffs. So I think Jerry could potentially want to move on from him. And if Bieniemy is available, I'm hoping they get him. I really am. But who really knows at this point? If it's the right situation, it's the right situation. If he goes with someone else, let's see. But for all intents and purposes, I just hope that they don't use him to just check their Rooney Rule boxes, because I think that would be really, really sad.
Bieniemy or Sanders? You heard it here first.
Bill Carroll, last word.
Well, my last word is one game is one game. If you're panicking or celebrating or whatever after one game, one of the things that I was heard when I was a child is the same thing will make you laugh and make you cry. Hold your horses, people. It's a very long season, especially nowadays with 17 games. Some teams that are going to look great this week are going to not be good teams, and some teams that are going to look terrible this week are going to be good teams. So take the long view, people.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much for a fantastic post game. We'll do that again. That was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Definitely.
And hey, everybody, if you haven't, please subscribe to Zennie62 on YouTube. Help us get to 100,000 subscribers. All right.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long road, but hey, it can be done. It can be done.
Definitely can be done.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Stick around in the background. That ends this broadcast. I only have